American soldiers, and not a single person called for him to go down.
Scott, if you'd like to make hold on a second. Everyone, stop talking. I think everyone has misconstrued the title of this show.
I guess we are still talking about Signalgate. If there's one person who probably wishes we would all stop talking about Signalgate, it's Joe Biden. Because in this video, we will go over one of the biggest CNN meltdowns, a recent meltdown, where Scott Jennings reminds everybody what Joe Biden's administration did and why we did not fire the last Secretary of Defense. Now, before we start the video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. Let us begin.
And will you demand the immediate resignation of Pete Hegseth?
Are they reading the room incorrectly?
Are they reading a room full of unhinged Democrats incorrectly? No, of course not. I mean, that's obviously who showed up at this crazy town hall meeting.
All right, let me set this up for you guys before we get to the very intense meltdowns, because this will all make sense. Now, at the very beginning of the segment, CNN was trying to show that even at a Republican town hall meeting, you can see all of these people are so upset. They are calling for the resignation of Pete Hegseth over what happened on the Signal app. But Scott Jennings points this out very fast.
Who shows up at all crazy town hall meetings, and I don't think the White House.
You think that she only had people there who are Democrats, let alone unhinged?
Yes, I believe that I believe the people who are showing up at these town hall meetings, just as Lulu said, are the angriest Democrats you can possibly imagine, and they would like to show up and yell at any Republican they can get their hands on. It won't be Trump and it won't be Elon, so Victoria Sparks will be the closest thing in this case that they can get to it.
Alright, so that got shut down real quick, because time and time again, even CNN has admitted a lot of people who show up to these town halls are Democrats trying to protest Republicans, and even Chuck Schumer has literally admitted we send our people to these town halls to protest. I've made plenty of videos on them, you can go check them out on my channel, but let's continue to the other meltdowns.
I do believe the White House and I think the president has some right to be unhappy about what happened, because he made a righteous decision and the military carried out his orders ruthlessly, efficiently. We did what we're supposed to do here. You know, it was a good operation, and it's totally been overshadowed by this communications snafu. But I don't believe they should give a scalp here. I really don't. I don't think they should give in to the mob, because you know what? If I've learned one thing about the mob, it's never enough. If they fired Hegseth, they'd ask for Waltz. If they fired Waltz, they'd ask for Hegseth. It will not be enough.
All right, just to give you guys the full context and picture, again, remember the Trump administration did admit, look, we do have to fix some things, but we are not classifying anything that was said as classified information. So what we have is a standstill, and again, please leave your opinions down below. You have Democrats, mainly Democrats, saying, look, we need to fire Pete Hegseth. We have to get rid of him for what he did. But on the Republican side, you'll see this, hold on, why didn't you call to fire Lloyd Austin, the previous Secretary of Defense? Why are you not going after him like the way you're going after Pete Hegseth?
And I think they ought to weather this storm and move on.
If this had
it's a teachable moment.
In a Democratic administration, this would have been absolutely, you would have been the first person calling for quote unquote scalps. This was an enormous
I'll answer your question if you'd like, because in a Democratic administration, the Secretary of Defense went AWOL and killed 13 American soldiers, and not a single person called for him to go down.
Scott, if you'd like to make hold on a second. Everyone, stop talking. I think everyone has misconstrued the title of this show. I'd like to hear what you both have to say, but our audience wants to hear from both of you separately, not on top of it. Scott, you had a point to make. You made it. Lulu, I invite you to respond to what you wanted to say.
Now, look, to be fair, there were plenty of Republicans who did want Lloyd Austin fired. But again, this is on the basis of the Afghanistan withdrawal, mandates on soldiers, other Middle Eastern issues, and living in a hospital without Joe Biden knowing. I am not trying to form your own opinion. I'm just trying to give you the full context. This is where Republicans are coming from as far as this very harsh pushback on Lloyd Austin and the Joe Biden administration, and on Democrats who all of a sudden seem to be way more outraged over Pete Hegseth than they were over Lloyd Austin.
Thank you. All I would like to say is that, you know, if this was a Democrat or a Democratic administration who had foolishly, unconscionably created a group chat to have a discussion about a military operation that was top secret. I think, Scott, you would have been the first person to call for those people's resignation. Accountability is not something that is either a Democrat or Republican. Accountability is actually something that normally happens in a well-functioning administration. This isn't, cowboys and Indians and calling for scalps. This is actually what most people would think was, if someone has behaved in a way that puts American lives at risk, they should be held accountable for it.
Now, I might be helping Democrats out here, don't be mad at me, but I do think this is very important for everyone to hear. This whole argument from Democrats that Trump, he needs more accountability, he has to get rid of Pete Hegseth. If Pete was a Democrat, that's why they're not getting rid of him. When you look at the first Trump administration, it's just a simple fact. Donald Trump had no problem getting rid of his highest level leadership within the U.S. military, either getting rid of them, calling them out, holding them accountable. I mean, you can go through all of the facts and all of the history. People were even walking out on Donald Trump because they just did not align with what Donald Trump wanted to do. So again, I don't think this is a very strong talking point, and Scott Jennings even brings this up.
Scott, what's your response?
Laura, since she addressed me, I'll answer it.
Please.
In a Democratic, you don't have to make up hypotheticals, Lulu, about if this happened in a Democratic administration. Let me take you back in time. In a Democratic administration, the Secretary of Defense oversaw a disastrous military operation in which 13 servicemen died in Afghanistan. Then, to try to make up for it, they vaporized like 7 children in a drone strike. Then later, the Secretary of Defense went AWOL and didn't even tell the commander-in-chief.
This is a completely
you don't
different
have to come up with a hypothetical, Lulu, because the bar apparently is very high for dismissing a Secretary of Defense.
Look, this is so embarrassing to say, but this is just the simple history and facts. I totally forgot about this. After the withdrawal of Afghanistan, again, we were looking for IS members who conducted the strike or attack on our service members, and we hit the wrong target. So again, you guys can let me know whether or not this is a good talking point from Republicans. Is this a low blow? I'm curious what you guys have to say, but this is why Republicans are pushing back really hard right now that, look, we know that Pete Hegseth made a mistake, but what about these mistakes, and why did we not fire the Secretary of Defense who conducted these mistakes?
I don't want your words to fall on ears that
this
cannot hear you.
like.
Lula, what's your reaction?
My reaction is it's not the same thing. I can take you back in time and talk about the Iraq
You're
War.
right, because people died.
People
died in the last
there
case
are
and not in
people
this
make
case.
Mistakes. This was using an unsecure method of discussion by the top members of this administration to discuss top secret, a top secret and
Who
very
in which case did people die?
military
In which case did people die?
So as you can see, the Democrat talking point is this is not the same thing. And look, mistakes have been made in the past, but I don't see how this is not a self-defeating argument, or why the Trump administration, I mean, they've already said it is a mistake. Why can't you use the same argumentation for Pete Hegseth? Oh, it was a mistake, sorry. So as you can see, I don't know how much longer we are going to keep talking about Signalgate, but this is the standstill. This is the standoff. Democrats are saying, we've made mistakes in the past. However, Pete Hegseth made a mistake now, so we have to fire him. Republicans are saying, well, what about your massive mistakes? And now all of a sudden there's outrage. As you can see, this is like a spiraling loop of the same exact arguments over and over.
What was so notable to me also about this is just the complete deflection of responsibility from the very top down. You've got Donald Trump saying, oh, it wasn't me. I don't know anything about this. Well, why should I know anything about this? I'm only the commander-in-chief. Why are you bringing Hegseth into this? And Hegseth is saying, there were no war plans. And you've got Tulsi Gabbard saying, was I on this text chat? And then later, I have no idea where I was during these conversations. I could have been in any country. You've got Radcliffe, the head of the CIA, saying, I didn't transmit classified information. No, somebody else did. I'm only the CIA director. What responsibility do I have over classified information? So it's what happens when you put people who are completely unqualified, disqualified in these positions. You're going to get colossal F-ups like this one.
Now, I can hear the groaning in the background. That is Adam Schiff. I know a lot of Republicans are not fans of his, but the reason why I played that clip was to prove Scott Jennings' point, because Adam Schiff is calling out everyone from the top down. Everyone needs to be held accountable. But what Scott Jennings was saying, as you heard in the video, this is a mob mentality. You're not only going after Pete Hegseth, you're going to go one after the other and want to get rid of everybody. But in this next clip, I haven't really heard this talked about too much. What about our Attorney General, Pam Bondi?
The fact is, Donald Trump fired the Inspector General of the Department of Defense just for this reason, which is so that there is no accountability for his unqualified political appointees who he had to know were going to make significant mistakes. And the fact that Pam Bondi is not going to investigate what is so clearly warrants an investigation just goes to show how much she is actually politicizing the Department of Justice, despite her promises repeatedly at her confirmation hearing that she would not do that. The only reason an attorney general would not start an investigation into this is because of political favor and partisan reasons. And that is clear that it is driving Pam Bondi.
Now, that is a very serious accusation on Pam Bondi. Whether or not this is politically related, we'll just have to wait and see if Pam Bondi responds. But I'm not saying it. That's what Representative Daniel Goldman, Democrat of New York, is saying, not me. Don't yell at me, Pam Bondi. What I am saying, though, is this. Pam Bondi has already addressed the situation, and she's moved on. Republicans have moved on. But again, we are still talking about this.
Ultimately, the buck stops with the President of the United States of America, which is why I made clear to President Trump yesterday in my correspondence that the Secretary of Defense should be fired immediately if he's not man enough to own up to his mistakes and resign in disgrace.
So there you go. That is Democrat leadership literally saying we need to fire Pete Hegseth or he should resign. So let me know how you guys feel about all of this. I'm actually shocked we are still talking about it. I'm surprised Democrats are not going after like stock market crashes or things like that. Nope, they are still sticking on Signalgate. But one thing I will say is this, at least now they are actually unified. They finally have the one thing where all Democrats are talking about this, because a week ago, 2 weeks ago, man, it was very scattered on the talking points and what Democrats could actually work with. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. God bless, and we'll see you guys later.